Welcome everybody to uSTADIUM Fantasy Live, the Week 3 edition. We are here to help you go 3-0, 2-1, 1-2, claw your way back up from last place. Any of your start-sit questions, trade questions, that's what we are here for today. I'm your host, Chris, and with me, as always, is the Bearish Bomber himself, Stefan. You can find him on most or all social media platforms at Bearish Bombs. The OG, as I know him, here at uSTADIUM. How's it going, brother? Are you ready for week 3? Are you in a good spot? What are your leagues looking like?
In a lot of leagues, I'm great. Oh man, I'm loving it. In some leagues, I'm like, what am I doing? I've drafted better teams in some leagues and worse teams in others, and I'm like, what in God's green earth is happening? But I'm good. Nick Chubb is, I like to say, the safest. Anything out of a first round pick you get Nick Chubb at, it is great.
Yeah. Did you see the Chase Claypool quote?
Which one?
Where he said he said the Browns are the Browns. He said we would be good too if we had a Nick Chubb. Now, is that a slight to Najee Harris? Like, is that a little? I know you're a big Najee guy coming into the season. There was that big Noah and you going back and forth, mixing and Najee. Najee has not looked good through 3 weeks.
I mean, listen, I like Najee, but Nick Chubb is the best pure rusher, and I know he has no pass catching abilities, but the guy's putting up 100 total yards on the ground regardless. And if he's not putting on the ground, he's got 26 receiving yards or 29 in the year. Yeah. Najee Harris had a fumble on Thursday. Nick Chubb didn't. Najee Harris has got a subpar offensive line. Nick Chubb doesn't. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I like Nick Chubb. I don't care if he's not a guy who wears fancy-looking gloves. He will come out there, no gloves, and catch 6 catches if he was ever throwing 6 passes. That's how much I love Nick Chubb. So I would take him over a lot of RBs, and he's the RB1 right now. I know he played a Thursday night game, had a touchdown over 100 yards, but this guy is looking like a better version of last year.
Yeah, over 20 carries on Thursday. The Browns leaned on him. Jacoby Brissett looked good. If you had David Njoku in your lineup, you started off pretty good this week. You put the right foot forward. Let's get into some key injury updates for week 3 before we head into questions and our start sits of the week. Justin Herbert is a true game time decision. He's expected to play. I'm not expecting him to hold on to the ball long. So I think that limits Mike Williams. Look for the dink and dunk. Austin Eckler should have a great day with that, with him trying to get the ball out of his hands early and often for Justin Herbert. Absolutely gutsy move for him to play this week. For the Chargers, he's got the rib issue. Alvin Kamara is expected to be a full goal for the Saints. Michael Pittman is expected to be in. Chris Godwin is out. Mike Evans is out. He's suspended. James Conner is a game time decision. Dalton Schultz is out. Rondale Moore is out. Keenan Allen, like we said, most likely out. Jerry Jeudy, another game time decision. He's got the rib issue. George Kittle is expected to make his NFL season debut, and as a fantasy manager, if you drafted him in the early rounds, top 5 rounds, you are hyped for this game, especially because now he's got Jimmy G throwing him the ball. And we know the connection that Jimmy G and George Kittle have. J.K. Dobbins, healthy, ready to go. They're plugging them in week 3. Harrison Butker is out for the Chiefs. So I think they got Amendola kicking there. Sammy Watkins moved to the IR for the Green Bay Packers. He's not
Shocker.
Playing. Kadarius Toney is out, and Jacoby Myers is not expected to play for the New England Patriots. If there is a Patriot wide receiver that you have to start this week because Jacoby Myers is out, which one are you looking at plugging in?
To be honest, I don't want this at all. But if I had to choose one, it wouldn't even be a receiver. I think it'd be a tight end. I think Hunter Henry, this is where he comes in. Nelson Aguilar is just a guy who's like hit or miss. He's one of the biggest boom bust candidates, I think, in fantasy football. You look at Kendrick Bourne, Devontae Parker. What have you done for me lately? It's like none of these guys have produced to a point where I can sit there and be comfortable with saying any of those three names over a tight end who has, last year he had 8 touchdowns, over 500 yards or 600 yards, and about 50, 60 receptions. Jonnu Smith's still there. I would trust those two guys to get the ball a little bit more and some more Ramondre Stevenson, but I can't trust those pass catchers. I just don't want to say one guy because I say Nelson Aguilar is going to go for 2 points or Kendrick Bourne flips and goes for 30.
Yes, sir. Got our first question. Woody the Badger, Juju or Ayuk in a full PPR? I'm leaning Ayuk because of who's throwing the ball with Jimmy G. They're playing Seattle. Juju's got to show it. He's got to show up for me to plug him into my lineups anymore again for the season. I'm going to put him on my bench, which means he's probably going to go off for 6 catches, 100 yards, and 2 tutties. But I am not plugging in Juju Smith-Schuster into my lineups this week from the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm going to lead towards Brendan Ayuk. You agree?
I mean, I 100%. I traded for Ayuk last year only because I thought Jimmy G was that guy. Jimmy G is going to be the guy who gets him the ball. I think Trey Lance doesn't have that rapport with the team like Jimmy does. So I think he will scatter the ball for everyone. Kittle might be in a snap count. I know he is playing, but he's coming off an injury that kept him out for 2 weeks. So I wouldn't, expect him to play 100%. If anything, get anywhere near tight end 1 numbers. But Ayuk, I feel like that's going to be Jimmy's guy. Outside of Deebo Samuel being covered or, in whatever in the run game, Ayuk will be the one to look get open. And Juju is borderline droppable. If Juju does have 2 more weeks where he doesn't do anything, I would trade him for scraps, or I would just drop him to the waiver wire and let him be someone else.
Mm-hmm. Yep, like that. Are you guys good with starting Mr. J.K. Dobbins? I am good starting J.K. Dobbins this week, coming off that devastating injury that held him out all last year. The first 2 weeks of the season, no one else in that running attack other than Lamar Jackson has been good enough for me to want to not put J.K. Dobbins in based on them splitting the snaps or the shares or the opportunity share. They're high on J.K. Dobbins. I'm plugging J.K. Dobbins in where I got him. I got no issues with starting Dobbins this week.
I do. I just don't know what the Ravens are thinking because they've had him out since week 1. So it's not like, you're off the ACL injury. Now you're cleared to play. It's like, no, you could have played week 1. Splash. I know you're a Ravens fan. I might just hold off 1 more week because it is the ACL injury. I might think they do a committee backfield until I think week 5 when he gets 100%, take a few game hits, take some of that live stamina out of him, see how he is, see how the knee reacts. Because Gus Edwards is still on the way back. So that backfield is not like it's, J.K. Dobbins clear-cut RB1. It's help is on the way. And once the help comes, it's going to be the biggest committee in the entire NFL. I mean, look at last year's numbers. Who was the RB1 every week?
Sure, but this week, are you plugging J.K. in?
No. Not for another at least. Next week, I'll more think about it because you drafted him very high. His draft capital, warrants a start. So if you're a guy who sat there in the 4th round and got him, go ahead. I got him in the 7th round, 8th round in some of my picks, and I'll let him sit on the bench because I'm like, hey, I can start a guy who has been doing well the last few weeks. What if J.K. Dobbins comes out, 10 carries, 42 yards, and like 1 catch for 10? You're like, oh, crap, what the hell? This guy had, this and that. But it's 1 week when he gets cleared. It's not like he was cleared to play like with soaring colors. It's like, he's a true questionable. He had all first full practice. So I would take it easy this week, but next week we could dive back into it and see how he did this week.
Okay, so Damien Harris or J.K. Dobbins?
Oh, Damien Harris.
Damien Harris over J.K. Dobbins? Chase Edmonds or J.K. Dobbins?
I would pivot towards J.K. Dobbins only because Edmonds has been abysmal. I mean, I don't know what they're doing down there in Miami, but Edmonds and Mostert have not gotten it done in ways we thought they should. And again, you're spending draft capital on Chase Edmonds, and you're like, wow, this guy has done nothing for me. So I would do J.K. Dobbins over Edmonds.
One more, Damian Pierce or J.K. Dobbins?
Yeah, you set me up on that one. I think I personally think, and I'm gonna. This is strike 2, so I've got one more chance to call a Damian Pierce breakout season to happen. I'm gonna take my second strike and do it now. I think today against Chicago, he has it. I think he does well. It's not going to be the best of weather in Chicago. I think the running game and Pierce. He had 15 carries last week. He had all the running backs carries. He's not the best pass catcher, but he's getting better. Rex Burkhead was basically phased out last week. It could be the other way around. I mean, like I said, the last 2 weeks, I say one thing, another thing happens. So I wouldn't be surprised if Rex Burkhead gets 22 carries. But no, I think Pierce this week especially. I think this is the start of his breakout season. He had a rough few weeks, but I think going forward, Lovie Smith wants this guy to be the workhorse.
Somebody, yeah, definitely. We saw it in the preseason, and we're going to see it right here. Okay. Justin O'Connor, what's up, boys? Good morning. Good morning, Justin. We took that L last week due to JT and JJ. Both guys didn't have their usual output, so yeah, it hurt me in a few lineups as well. But who should I go with? Damien Harris, Johan Dodson, or Treylon Burks? I'm leaning Burks against that horrible secondary. Burks for me, I'm going to get into it a bit further into the episode here, but Burks for me is my wide receiver start of the week. Kyle Phillips is out. They're going to be looking to get this guy the ball early and often. So I'm leaning Burks over Dotson, and I'm leaning Burks over Damien Harris. This is the breakout week for Treylon Burks. Plug him into your lineups.
You've been drinking too much of that Kool-Aid that they got down in Arkansas. Because I don't know if you've seen our boy, not Damon Harris, but Johan Dodson.
Johan Dotson's been having,
It's not 1 week, it's 2 weeks. And this guy last week played 98% of the snaps. Week 1 played 89%.
Yes. Yeah.
Treylon Burks, I don't have the number, on hand, but I think he also played over 85% of the snaps against Buffalo, even though it was a blowout loss. So I think 85% of what the starters played, not what the entire game script said. But no, I think Johan Dodson on this one. Damon Harris, he got banged up last week, but he's fine. I know volume at running back is good, but you're going against a Ravens defense that specializes in stopping the run. The run game right now is kind of non-existent because they're going through two backs of Stevenson and Harris. I just think Johan Dodson, ride the hype train until he has that first bad week. Because if you're that guy, he's like, no, he can't have 3 weeks in a row.
Even versus the Philly defense, the Philly secondary.
Terry McLaurin, Darius Slay, Bradbury, Curtis Samuel, Johan Dodson.
Yeah, he might be the guy. He might be the guy there. Right?
I think he's. It just seems like it's a day where he might not get 2 tutties, but he might get you like 8 catches, 80-something yards, and might sneak a touchdown. But one of those productive PPR days.
Yep. So there you go. Burks or Dotson, O'Connor there, Justin. Good luck. Holden Cantor, if Herbert can't go, which is a true game time decision, it's looking like he is playing. Do you like Geno Smith, Marcus Mariota, or Jared Goff? That Detroit offense is one of, if not the highest scoring offense through the first 2 weeks. It's been exactly the highest scoring offense, or one of the highest scoring offenses through the first 2 weeks. It's been a pleasant surprise. Amon-Ra St. Brown has been a stud for you, a constant wide receiver 1. I am excited to see Jameson Williams coming into that offense there with the 1-2 punch. You got DeAndre Swift doing DeAndre Swift things. I think he's averaging near 10 yards per carry, per touch. But this week, I'm leaning Marcus Mariota. I like the matchup. I like what they're going to be able to do there against the Seahawks. The Falcons offense is averaging over 25 points per game. He's got the rushing upside. Jared Goff had to be down near 30 points in week 1 versus the Eagles to put up those kind of numbers. Week 2, they did look good. They got off to a hot start. He put up some good numbers there. But I'm leaning Marcus Mariota over Jared Goff and definitely over Geno Smith. Just pretty much for me, it's Goff, Mariota, and the outweighing outlier for between the two is Mariota's rushing ability.
Week 1, 1272 a touchdown. Week 2, 616 could have had a touchdown, but he had 2 touchdowns passing. He did have two interceptions. He's not throwing 300 yards, but I'm going to piggyback off you. Geno Smith does nothing for you. I'm leaving him on the waiver wires. He's just a guy who gets that high projection, who's like that clickbait. It's like, no, pick me. I'll promise I'll do good for you. Get you like 10 points. Jared Goff, you were right. It's the narrative of the team. I really think Jared Goff and the Minnesota Vikings, that matchup is going to be one of the most highest scoring games of the week. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown. You got Justin Jefferson. You've got 2 good running backs in Cook and Swift. you got two defenses that are suspect, but yet you look at the teams and you go, why do I want Mariota? His rushing ability, like you said, his passing ability is there. He's got Pitts, he's got London, he's got Cordero Patterson, he's got a plethora of good offensive weapons. It's just the last 2 weeks, the Saints are a good defense. The Rams were a bounce back defense that took a horrible loss. And you're going into Seattle against Geno Smith. And honestly, Geno Smith hasn't done anything to impress me. Jared Goff, I want to see how he does this week. But Mariota is that one guy that I would start over Aaron Rodgers. I hate to say this, if Tom Brady doesn't do well, I picked Mariota up in a bench spot just in case Tom Brady doesn't do well, because this guy is like, he's a moneymaker. What he does is get you points on the ground and on the air. Why wouldn't you want a guy who's got that dual ability? And I'd have Mariota over a lot of starters in the NFL right now. And now I know why some guys fell to the 12th, 13th round, like Rodgers, Prescott, Joe Burrow, and guys like Mariota didn't get picked up because, I mean, look at the numbers. They don't lie.
Yep. Geno Smith definitely rolled back last week. Definitely rolled back. Definitely. Avery Peterson, do I run both Zeke and Pollard or give Penny one last chance or just throw Burks in? Penny for me this week is my RB sit. A lot of people are saying he's going to have the bounce back game. I just haven't liked what I saw with Kenneth Walker now in that backfield. I'm going to lean here. Give me the upside of Tony Pollard over Ezekiel Elliott, and I'm throwing Burks in. If you're starting two, if you're starting one, I'm probably going to go Treylon.
Yeah, Treylon. I don't know. The Giants are a good matchup, though. That's why I look at it. And then Penny, Penny I was never a big fan of last year. I'm not a fan of him this year. I'm not going to get on the hype train, so I wouldn't start Penny. But Vegas has a suspect, pass defense. Look what Arizona did last week. And if I'm mistaken, against the Buffalo Bills, who have a better secondary, 4 of 6, 47 yards. He had that 15-yard catch that showed off his speed. I think Treylon Burks is probably a better matchup because they're at home, and I think it's a bounce-back game because someone has to do something on that offense. Like, there's no Robert Woods, no Austin Hooper, no Derrick Henry, and there's no one else but Treylon Burks, the best player offensively on that team that's not Derrick Henry. So I think I'm piggybacking you on this one. I think Treylon Burks does break out, has one of those rookie games like Johan Dodson did or Drake London or Garrett Wilson, because he's the only guy who hasn't shown us why he was a top receiver pick.
Yep. There you go. Good luck. Ryan Potts, which rookie wide receiver are you selling now? My Alec Pierce and Kyle Phillips stock is looking a little shaky. Alec Pierce is just waiver fodder at this point. I'm not trusting him. Kyle Phillips looked good through the first 2 weeks. He had that muffed punt, but he is also injured there for Tennessee. Selling wise, I'm selling high on Johan Dodson. If I can get a decent running back to my team or a nice wide receiver, maybe a buy low candidate, someone that we know has the talent and is gonna produce for you in the second half or second 2/3 of the season, Johan Dodson's going to be a guy that I might move there only because I don't trust the Washington offense and Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is going to do Carson Wentz thing. And buying rookie wide receiver, I'm buying Christian Watson for the Green Bay Packers. They're going to be looking to get this kid the ball. Sammy Watkins just put on IR. There's no one else in that offense that can do what that kid can do when he stretches the field. He was one catch away from a 60-yard touchdown week 1. They're getting him involved in the game by giving him quick screens and end arounds and sweeps. So they are game planning to get Christian Watson the ball. So I'm buying Christian Watson. You can probably buy him low at this point just based on his output.
He's out today too, so.
Is he out today?
Yeah, he's not expected to suit up. So what you guys could do, little finagle, go into your league, drop a guy who's a bum, who you can get picked right back up, get Christian Watson, put him on that IR spot, and thank Chris in 6 weeks from now.
Yeah, exactly. So you got a rookie you're buying or selling?
I don't want to sell on Garrett Wilson. I really think he is that guy in New York. I think Garrett Wilson is. I don't know. I don't know what happened to Elijah Moore. I don't know what happened to Corey Davis is injured too, and Corey Davis will have his here and there games. But I think Garrett Wilson is one of those guys I would just sell high. Go to someone that's in deep in the ditch who's like, oh, my team sucks. I don't have a receiver. Yeah. Go hey, here you go. And then just take it from him. Just take everything.
That's it. Holding Cantor, start 2, full PPR. Antonio Gibson, Cordero Patterson, and Aaron Jones. I'm going to go Aaron Jones and Antonio Gibson there.
I just feel like Aaron Jones has a regression. I don't know why.
Yeah, he's not
I don't
going to
know who
have
he's
the
playing
same
or anything, though. Like, is he
he's
playing?
not going to have the same output that he had last week, but I think out of the 3, he's probably got the highest ceiling just based on what he can do in the passing game, especially full PPR. Gibson and Cordero, I would say Gibson has a safer floor over Cordero Patterson just because he's the guy in that Washington offense running back room.
Mm-hmm.
And he does see a lot of targets as well. So give me Gibson and Jones full PPR.
I'm going to actually go the other way. Give Jones because I would not trust, Gibson over Jones. I think Gibson is good, but Jones is better. And I think Cordero Patterson, as much as we might think, I think he still is the guy on that team. He's still the running back one. I just feel like against a Seattle team that's, again, really suspect. Like they had a week 1 that was really good, week 2, but like this team really is not a good team. And San Francisco showed that with the run game last week at Jeff Wilson. And I think Cordero Patterson's miles better than Jeff Wilson, even at the age of like 40 that Cordero Patterson is. I think he's a better rusher. He also brings that receiving ability. So I would go Cordero Patterson and Aaron Jones in this one because you're going to maximize your receiving and your rushing stats with both of those guys over Antonio Gibson.
Here you have it. A-Rod or Tua? KFL extinct. I'm going Tua here. I don't like the matchup versus Tampa Bay for Aaron Rodgers, the lack of weapons. The Buffalo Bills DB core are pretty much all out today. Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde. There's a few other guys that are just not going to be in the game. I saw a stat that combined games played for the 3 guys out and the 3 guys that are replacing him is like 3 NFL games there. So I'm expecting Tua to have a big day. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. These are guys that you're plugging into your lineup this week. I'm going Tua over Aaron Rodgers.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, like I said, it's got nobody. So give me Tua, and I just hope we get the Miami team. Not that we saw last week, but a glimmer of what we saw last week. Because that is what they truly will look like when they're hitting on all cylinders.
Yep. DK or Jacoby Myers, this is easy. DK Metcalf, Jacoby Myers is not expected to play today for the New England Patriots. If Jacoby Myers was healthy, I would lean towards starting Jacoby Myers just based on his target share. He is one of the top 10 wide receivers in the league this season based on targets and receptions. He's not getting the touchdowns that you would hope he would get based on his target and opportunity share. But DK Metcalf just hasn't been doing it through 2 weeks, and that's just based on the play of Geno Smith. So this week, you're starting DK just because Jacoby's out.
I would start him even if he wasn't out. I think every week that we don't get a DK Metcalf breakout game, it's going to just like pour over into it. It's like, hey, it's been 6 weeks. We're going for a 6 touchdown, 600-yard week. I think this is going to be the one. It's AJ Terrell's good. I get it. But lock it over the other side had 7 catches, 100 yards.
Yeah.
So I think DK Metcalf is just due for that game, and the secondary is not the greatest secondary. Even if AJ Terrell, it's a good spot
for him to have a good game. Yeah.
And if I was making a bet, I would do it anytime touchdown for a DK Metcalf one today.
There you go. You heard it. Avery Peterson, Nelson Aguilar, or Scary Terry. Terry gets his points last quarter each week so far. Yeah, a lot of garbage time points for Terry, but garbage time points are still points. Don't discount the garbage time points. I love plugging in guys into my flex that have high opportunity for garbage time points because those are the kind of points that'll swing your week. Aguilar looks to be getting a lot of targets. He's got a good point there with Nelson Aguilar. With Jacoby Myers out, Nelson Aguilar could be a sneaky play, but I mean, it's still Scary Terry. I still believe in the talent of Scary Terry. He's the better wide receiver as a whole. I'm running with Terry McLaurin here. Garbage time or no garbage time, I'm rocking Terry McLaurin over Nelson Aguilar.
I was like this close. I'm just turning off the camera. If you were gonna say Aguilar, I am not even joking. I'm gonna give this guy a second to just finish off his thought, because if I heard you say Aguilar, 6 catches, 6 targets, 110 yards against the Steelers and a touchdown.
Yeah.
But we know a bunch of that was that crazy fluke, not fluke because it's still a play, but a crazy catch because he always drops the baby. He never catches the baby. We know that. And then he comes back in week 2 against Miami. Or no, sorry, week 1 against Miami was 3 of 6, no tutty. Week 2 was 6 of 6, 110 and touchdown. Nelson Aguilar is the epitome of a boom bust. You never know when it's going to happen, guy. And there's a reason he stays on waivers for all the seasons. And even if he has that one game, he still stays on waivers because you pick him up and next week he's, a dud. And Scary Terry is Scary Terry. That offense is not going through him because he's locked up by the quarterback 1. Samuel's freaking, I don't know what he is. He's a god right now. Johan Dodson seems like the best rookie of the year. It's just Terry McLaurin will get his. He's still the receiver 1. They paid him the bag. He got the bag, so he's not going anywhere. It might not be the prettiest fantasy season, but he'll still produce 1,000 yards and a lot of good boom games over his bust games.
FYI, I usually do the opposite of what Burst says.
Smart. You are a smart man, and that's why you'll win all your leagues except the one that we're in.
Oh, jeez. Need to from Albert Marroquin. Thanks for tuning in, Albert. Christian Kirk. I'm guessing Christian Kirk, not Kirk Cousins. Rashad Bateman. Garrett Wilson. Full PPR. I mean, Christian Kirk, you're plugging in. He's getting a massive amount of targets. They're targeting him in the end zone. Christian Kirk for sure. And then it's between Garrett Wilson and Rashad Bateman. Rashad Bateman has had 2 nice weeks. Most of his output has come on long touchdown plays. So don't be that guy to be like, he's only had a 50-yard and a touchdown. He's had 60 yards and a touchdown. I don't really want to trust them. Those are the guys that you want in your lineup, the guys that have the ability to put up those stretch plays. If he goes 60 yards and a TD on a big stretch play, that's 12 points, 12 and a half points for you in half PPR, 13 points for you in full PPR. All he needs to do really 2 more catches, 20 to 30 yards, and that's a perfect flex play. That's a nice outing for your wide receiver to get 15 to 16 points. I mean, in a full PPR league, that's a nice spot. So Christian Kirk for sure, but man, it's Garrett Wilson. Are you chasing the points of what he put up last week? Or are you plugging them in? For you, is it Wilson or Bateman, Steph?
If I'm going to be real with you, I was one of those guys who took Garrett Wilson early in the draft, like 11th, 12th round, because I knew that this guy
I don't know if that's early.
Really?
Unless if you're doing like a
12-man redraft league.
Was it 16 rounds?
Yeah.
I would say it's mid.
Okay, mid. Okay, mid or early, whatever. People complain. I saw people have him on waiver wire, so I don't want to, But last week, it showed us that clearly the receivers aren't who they say they are. Elijah Moore isn't that guy unless Zach Wilson comes back and he's got a rapport with him.
He's getting open, man. Elijah Moore's getting open. He's just not getting the ball.
Exactly, but you know who's getting the targets and he's getting open? It's Garrett Wilson. I mean, you don't make like this. Listen, 22 targets. You're leading the team in targets. You're leading the league in actually receptions by 2. You're leading the league you're leading the league team in yards. Corey Davis has 8 more yards, and you're leading the team in touchdowns. A rookie's leading the team in 4 of the 5 big categories as a receiver. Corey Davis might not play. He's got that injury he always has after a big game. And Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson, I think, are going to feast. You don't give the guy 14 targets that gets a good secondary in Cleveland and then come around in Cincinnati against Eli Apple. Yeah, I'm giving you 30 targets against Eli Apple.
Very good point.
So I think Garrett Wilson, people are going to be like bullish on him. It's one big game. He's a rookie. But clearly they got him where they got him. He went to Ohio State University, the wide receiver university. You know that.
Slow down.
Okay, one of the wide receiver universities in the NCAA. But I just think this guy's a dog. And I think Bateman, it was Bateman, right? That was the other guy?
Yes.
I think Bateman's good. I mean, he's a good stack to have, but I think Garrett Wilson this week against Cincinnati and Christian Kirk. I told a guy on our Twitter account, I was like, you have to go get Christian Kirk. Yes. He's like, why? He's not sexy. He's not freaking, DK Metcalf, Jefferson, Waddle, Sutton, but he is doing everything better than all those guys. He's scoring points, scoring touchdowns. Kirk is a receiver one, I think, the rest of the way because him and T-Law have that relationship. And I think Garrett Wilson this week against Cincinnati does it. So give me Wilson and Kirk. Bateman is a great guy to have. I mean, he's not going to go anywhere, but like you said, he's going to have one of those boom games where it's like that 44-yard touchdown catch for 12 points. So give me Wilson and Kirk and full PPR.
Just a little separator here for that as well. Garrett Wilson tied for first in the league with 8 red zone targets. 8 red zone targets.
Does that lead rookies too?
Well, yeah.
You said league
wide receivers,
I'm sorry,
right? All wide receivers, right?
Sorry about that. Yeah.
Can you guess how many red zone targets Rashad Bateman has?
0. I knew it because it was that one. I knew that 44-yard catch he had week 1. I'm like, I didn't because I looked at the numbers. I'm like, this guy's not nowhere in the end zone. So 6-0? I mean, come on.
Yep. So that's a good outlier when you're trying to decide between 2 wide receivers. Give me the guy that's targeted where he has better chance of getting 6 points for you at the end of the day, and he's being targeted 8 times in the red zone, and that's money to me. Cash it in, right? Cash it in.
It's like uSTADIUM take. I mean, we have a take. Oh, we also have a take for Garrett Wilson to score a touchdown this week. That's got almost 200 people. And this is a big take. It's one of our bigger takes.
You can win a jersey too, right? You can win that Garrett Wilson jersey.
I would love a Garrett Wilson jersey. You kidding me?
Hey.
Just give me a different team on his name.
The Rocket Arm team.
There you go.
There you go. And just a reminder, we got one more question. Jack Madigan, James Conner update. Game time decision is the last I saw. I checked in about 5 minutes ago. True game time decision. So comfortable starting him? Probably not. I might lean towards someone else that I might have on my bench, just because of his issues there. And we are brought to you by uSTADIUM app. Make sure you're getting on the app, making takes, monetize your sports takes. There are fantasy takes. I put a bunch out this morning. I got my ones for each position. QB1, I got Joe Burrow on his bounce back week. RB1, I got DeAndre Swift for the week. Wide receiver 1, I got Devontae Adams. And then tight end 1 for the week for me, it's going to be the guy that played on Thursday, and that's David Njoku. He had a great game, 9 targets, 8 receptions, a tutty. He put out, man. I was waiting for that Njoku breakout game just based on history and the amount that Jacoby Brissett uses his tight ends. It was nice to finally see him come out and play ball. But yes, so again, like the stream, subscribe to the channel, comment your uSTADIUM username for 500 free points, and that'll get you rolling on the takes. So Avery Peterson, Dodson over Sterling Shepard. I'm going to lean Dodson there.
You better not go opposite of this, Ave. Yes, Dobson. Dotson. Every time you see Dotson's name, just go Dotson. Do not stop hyping this guy up until he crashes and burns into the ground or you trade him away. I think this guy is just a stud. These receivers this year too, studs, all of them. Dotson, Wilson, London, Berkshire. Burks is the only guy on his way, but just Sterling Shepard's nothing. I'm sorry. I like you, guy, but the Giants. Name one receiver on the Giants I can go out and get and be okay with.
I mean, if there's a guy, it would be Sterling Shepard, right? I mean, if there's a guy, I'm not a big Kadarius Toney guy. I was high on Wandale coming into the season, but he got hurt early. I mean, the rapport that Richie James is there, but the rapport that Jones has with Shepard, I think I'm leaning Shepard. Definitely not touching Kenny Golladay. That's for sure. And neither are the Giants.
The New York robber. I know the biggest crime in New York gone unsolved.
Exactly. Javon Tyson, thanks for tuning in, Javon. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, or Brandon Cooks at the flex, Steph?
Am I crazy to want Garrett Wilson over Brandon Cooks at the flex? Am I crazy for that? No, I'm not crazy for that because it's Garrett Wilson. Like, I just get on a rave of these rookie receivers. I'm not going to back down on it. I think Cooks is good, but he's a product of Davis Mills. That Chicago game, I think, is going to be just one of those nasty games of the week. Like, you're like, what game is going to be the crapshoot of the game? I think it's going to be the Houston-Chicago game. And I think you're going to see they're in Chicago, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, that field's terrible, and I don't think Cooks, Mooney, any of the receivers get much going. I think it's going to be a good day, but give me Garrett Wilson. I think people are sleeping on like, oh, he just went off for 2 touchdowns. Regression's a thing. Regression is a thing, but when you're a baller and you're a stud like Garrett Wilson, regression's a thing. You look on your shoulder, you just brush off. So give me Wilson, and going forward, he's a great flex for the rest of the season.
There you go. Good luck. JD75, you think Herbert starts today? Yes, I think Herbert starts today.
Would you start Herbert today?
Would I start Herbert today? Yeah, if I absolutely had to, yes, I would start Herbert today. If I'm in a 2 QB league or a super flex league where starting quarterbacks are few and far between on the waivers, I think I'm starting Herbert today. 1 QB league, I might pivot away from just based on the injury. I don't think he's going to be stretching the field that much. He's definitely not going to be running the ball at all. So no QB sneaks, none of that stuff for Herbert. They're going to protect them. So I'm seeing a lot of the running back dump offs, a lot of stuff in the middle of the field for him, quick release. But I do think he starts today.
Okay, I have a question really quickly before we pivot. So I have someone that texted me because he couldn't get on the show, and he's been watching us for the last few weeks. He's facing Josh Allen. He has Gabe Davis and Dawson Knox. Do I start Knox in place of another tight end, or start Hayden Hurst or Conklin?
I'm rolling Conklin this week. Conklin's my streamer, man. Tons of targets. Hurst is nice too in that offense, but I'm not going to trust Hurst. I've been hurt by the guy so many times. So I'm not trusting Hurst. Knox for me is just too touchdown dependent. With Gabe Davis out last week, I thought he was going to be featured more in that offense, and he just wasn't for me. So I'm going to lead towards Ty Conklin there, just based on target share.
All right, bet. Perfect.
Jonah Williams, Mike Thomas, or Keenan Allen without Herbert in flex. I don't think Keenan Allen's playing, so I'm going to lean Mike Thomas.
I think Mike Thomas. I don't know why we're sleeping on your boy. I think Mike Thomas.
I know
it's like, oh, when's he going to suck again? He just let the guy live now.
Yeah, exactly. And same with Winston, right? Winston dealing with a broken back. Like in the words of Mike Tyson, I broke my back. My back is broken, spinal. So Jameis Winston, same thing. He's going to be wanting to get the ball out early and often. And that guy that he's going to target is going to be Michael Thomas, man. They got the field stretcher in Chris Olave. He's going to see maybe 1-2 nice deep balls. Hopefully he doesn't fumble running again. And then you got Jarvis Landry, who week 1 was a stud. Week 2 was really non-existent. So the best wide receiver in that wide receiver room for the New Orleans Saints is Michael Thomas. So roll Michael Thomas. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. Avery Peterson, bang Sterling for 3 tutties.
Yeah, I swear. Listen, okay, I'm gonna say this right now, and if it happens, I'm gonna be kind of not annoyed, but like I'm gonna flip the script for next week. If my picks again go 2 for 5, I'm going to do something different next week, or I'm going to just change up the entire game because I have my partner over here going 10 of 10, and I'm over here like, yeah, we're 14 of 20. You know who the 10 are? It's not me. It's this guy with 10 and me with 4. I've got to change the whole perspective. So if Sterling Shepard does go off for 3 tutties, hey, reach out to me later, and I'll get you something. Nice Sterling Shepard. TJ and Max, the jersey over here.
Kevin Clark, Devin Singletary, or Ramondre Stevenson.
Anyone else that you can choose between those 2?
I know both. Like Devin Singletary, decent week 1. Ramondre, non-existent week 1. We thought he was going to produce week 2, non-existent week 2. We know Damon Harris is dealing with a bit of an injury. Man, I mean it's really a toss-up between the 2. I'm gonna lean towards Devin Singletary based on his usage through the past 2 weeks. I mean, that's all we really got. I'm not leaning towards Ramondre Stevenson. So I'm starting Devin Singletary. Out of the 2, I'm starting Singletary.
I'm gonna piggyback with you. I don't want to make it complicated. I don't want you guys to have that split where it's like at 1:00, Stephon said Stevenson, and Chris said Singletary, and then next thing you know, go Singletary. The volume is there. Stevenson, hold on to him. Nobody drop him, please.
No, don't drop him. Yeah.
I've seen people it's week 3. You're overreacting. If you're 0-2, you don't have to nuke your team. It's not week 7 where you're 1-7 or 2-5. You just relax and these guys that aren't doing well now. Just know there's always that second half run where players become gods and gods become nothing.
League winners.
So, exactly.
Sorry.
Now you're good.
Dodson or Darrell Henderson? I'm gonna lean Dodson here.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go behind. I'm not gonna retract. So yep, go Dodson. I'll just move on with that.
Yeah. I don't like what I saw to Darrell Henderson. Jameis Winston or Tom Brady?
You set me up on that one. No receiver Brady or no back Jameis. So the cops are about to come and get me now for what I'm about to say. So it's clear, and I'm not going to jail. Give me Brady. I mean, they're home. It's the home opener. Give me TB12. Give me the 425 game. I'm sorry. I know there's no Julio, but you know who he does have now?
Cole Beasley. Scotty Miller. Brashad Perriman. It's just a cast of outcasts.
It's terrible. When did it become like this?
Cameron Brate. Kyle Rudolph. I mean, it's rough. But I could definitely see a situation where Tom Brady outplays Jameis Winston this week. And I could see a situation where Jameis outplays Tom Brady. Right? Jameis has got probably the better matchup against the Panthers.
Right? Yeah, he should, right?
So you want to play matchup or do you want to play talents?
And if we're going to play talents,
you're leading Brady.
Yeah, if we're playing matchup, we're going to go Jameis. But I see what scares me about Jameis Winston is it's week 1. Are we going to get the Jameis Winston that comes out in the fourth quarter and just puts it on against the Falcons? Or are we going to get Jameis Winston of that first half? Jameis Winston scares me. That second half, Jameis Winston, it's okay, you'll get that. But I don't know what you're going to get more of, that first half or second half. So I would say matchup, yes, Jameis. And if he doesn't do well, I don't know if I want to keep him at that point because you have all the receivers. Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Kamara is supposed to be back, Mark Ingram, you have Trotman, you have the freaking giant Johan Dodson. So you should be throwing 250 and 2 tutties every week. But again, it's Jameis Winston. So
yes, sir. Yeah, go Brady.
Yeah.
Good luck, Kevin. Noah, our boy Noah. Devonta Smith or Travis Etienne, half PPR. I'm going to lean Devonta Smith here versus the Redskins. I want to see Etienne give me a good game. Give me a decent game. Give me a good floor game before I can trust you to put you into my lineups again. We saw his snap share decrease from week 1 to week 2. Week 1, again, we talked about it. He had that opportunity to put up a big week for fantasy owners. Week 2, he just wasn't there for you. Devonta Smith week 1 didn't have that decent week. He got a 0 week 1. Week 2, he came out and he gave you what you needed in your lineups. This week, I'm leaning Devonta Smith over Travis Etienne.
Yeah, I mean, Etienne, ever since he took that big hit week 1, I'm like, oof, this guy is in for a rough season. Yes, and James Robinson, another guy who's underrated, and I don't know why. I don't know why people underrate this guy. He's done nothing but since 2 years ago, came out undrafted, balled out. Yes, he got hurt because our freaking Urban Meyer's offense was, sucked. So I don't even count last year as a year for him. But JR this year is proving why he should still be the RB1. And like you said, until Travis Etienne sits there and shows me, hey, I can do this, you're staying on the bench. And I drafted you with high capital. So I know people are mad when we're telling them to bench Etienne. Oh, but I spent a 4th-round pick on him. Right, but he's not producing like a 4th-round pick. So unless you want to keep going, taking that L in that position, you gotta pivot. You gotta make that move to get your team the points because he's not bringing you those points.
Mm-hmm.
So Devonta Smith, and I think Smith going forward. I know he had that bad, few weeks, but the trend this year is receivers are just popping off. It's like the year of the receiver. You can find so many receivers in the draft. Like I went receiver heavy over RB heavy. and I'm loving it. I'm 0-2 in the league for it, but my team's been scoring the highest amount of points, and I'm going against the 2 highest scores. So.
That's it. Joel MVP Embiid, get the man his points. Bucks or Saints defense? I'm rolling Saints defense over Bucks defense this week. Saints got Baker Mayfield. They are probably facing the better talent in terms of positional players with McCaffrey, DJ Moore, and stuff like that over the Bucks facing Green Bay with pretty much Aaron Rodgers, AJ Dillon, and Aaron Jones there. But I'm going to lean towards the Saints defense.
Yeah, I'm not going to play cute with this. I have the Saints defense in a lot of my leagues. I looked at the matchup. I am not a Baker Mayfield fan, so I will always go against I will always pick a team that will play him. And the Saints, as much as me and you go back and forth with our stuff with the Bucks and Saints, the Saints really do have a good defense. And they showed every year, DeMar Davis, Cameron Jordan, like those guys are studs. And that defensive line against a struggling, and I think Carolina's in a lot worse of a position mentally as a team than we think they are.
Yeah,
no one's saying it.
That
Rule is like it's hot seat where like it's almost 90 degrees hot. So this guy loses another, and it's a NFC South showdown. So it's like double damage if you lose this one.
Yes, sir. Even though Bucks last week, man, I think they finished as DST 1, right?
But that was, of course, those 2 touchdowns. It's like the Browns again. That pick 6 is like that was that one play. But
Saved some people.
Save some people. It saved a lot of people's parlays, a lot of people's bets, the spread, the over under. Like it was it's one of those things where you're like, really, what do the NFL have on this game? But no, give me the Saints defense. And honestly, rest of the season, you just play matchup wise, stash them on your bench, and pick up a defense if it's a better matchup. But Saints are a good defense for the rest of the season.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in. Any best bets, Stefan? I'm 0-1 so far this week.
Surprisingly enough, I haven't bet at all this week. I've just been looking at the games. I haven't touched a single bet. The only ones I've seen, and it's not any bias, I've been taking every week. I put $100 on the Bucks with the spread. Again, they're getting a 1-point spread against the Packers that you just said. They're going to go out with Romeo Dobbs, Randall Cobb, and the 2 running backs. We have the best run defense. We have a great, secondary, I believe. Our receivers suck. But if you had to do a bet, give me the Bucks. Receivers suck because they're hurt right now. Like Russell Gage, Scotty Miller, and all of them. But give me the Bucks -1. I think Brady in the home opener gets it right. I mean, if you look at the last 2 weeks, they have been offensively abysmal. It's been just so sad to see what potential we had and what's actually going on. So if you had to, just put money on the Bucks -1. If you lose it, come back to me. I'll take care of you, Flash.
There it is. Kevin Clark, deep league where I have Godwin, so I need to wait for him to be in my flex. Yeah, I see that. Frankie, do you trust Chase Edmonds? Wait for a good game, and trade? I'm waiting for a good game and trading him. Will a good game come? I mean, that's yet to be seen. He's had 17 carries, so he's averaging about 8.5 carries per game. He's averaging about 3.5 targets per game. Only has 58 rushing yards, 48 receiving yards with 5 receptions, no tutties, 1 red zone touch, which, not a good look for Miami, who's been putting up points. Coming into the season, I trusted Edmonds. I was drafting Edmonds where I could. I was drafting them early. It's just been the share that I wasn't hoping for. Raheem Mostert's there. He's taking a lot of the snap share, or at least splitting it with Chase Edmonds. I do not trust Chase Edmonds, so I will wait for a good game. Hopefully it's this week versus Buffalo. I will wait for a good game and try to move him. Trading him now, I believe you're trading him at his complete floor, so you're not going to get the value back where you drafted him. You might never get the value back where you drafted him, but you want to wait for him to have that decent game and then ship him off. It just hasn't been the output that we were hoping for Chase Edmonds in that Miami offense. So trust him? No, I don't trust his snap share. I don't trust his opportunity share. I don't trust the amount of carries he's getting, the amount of targets he's getting, the amount of red zone touches he's getting, the yards, the touchdowns, the receptions. he was coming out of Arizona as a receiving running back in that backfield. Now in Miami, he hasn't really done too much receiving the ball. So his upside there is completely abolished. I am not trusting Chase Edmonds.
I'm going to name a few players, and you tell me if you'd rather have them over Chase Edmonds starting.
Shoot.
Khalil Herbert?
Chase Edmonds.
Dortch?
This week, Chase Edmonds.
Singletary? Harris? Damon Harris?
Give me Damien.
Okay.
Yeah, give me Damien.
I wanted to see something.
Yeah, I'm like Dortch this week with Ertz being full healthy and being back in the lineup. I'm not expecting Dortch to do much.
You think even was Rondell Moore going to play? Is he out?
Rondell Moore's out. Yeah, Rondell Moore's out. Even with Moore out, Dortch's numbers were better when Ertz wasn't really involved in the lineup or the gameplay. If you look at the splits, his percentage of targets and opportunity drops way down once Ertz is healthy and into that lineup. But it's small sample size. Again, we're only basing our projections and everything off what we've seen here for the past 2 weeks. So as the season rolls on, we'll get a bit more of an idea of roles of these players. Full PPR, Anita Flex, Brendan Ayuk, Breece Hall, J.K. Dobbins, Marquez Valdez Scantling, Jamal Williams. Definitely appreciate all you do. We appreciate everyone who's tuned in this week and the past 2 weeks. Drop a subscribe, like the stream, share it around. We appreciate all you guys coming in and dropping in your questions and putting in your trust into myself and Stefan to try to get you those trophies. But let's answer the question. Again, comment your uSTADIUM username for 500 free points. Can you pop it? There you go. Full PPR. He needs a flex. The two we are eliminating right away, Jamal Williams and MVS. We're taking those guys right out of the equation. So really it's Brandon Ayuk, J.K. Dobbins, Breece Hall. I know you're not a proponent of starting guys coming off injury. So for you, I'm guessing you're taking out J.K. Dobbins and it's between Breece Hall and Brandon Ayuk. I got that right?
Ayuk is, yeah, you got the Ayuk part. And it's honestly, I don't know, because Breece Hall is like, he hasn't gotten to that point. And I feel like, you know what? No. Yeah, I'm going to go Dobbins. I just don't trust Breece Hall to be that guy until like Michael Carter takes that sidestep. So I would have to go with Ayuk and Dobbins over Breece Hall. I wouldn't take Dobbins over a lot of people, but it would be like over Breece Hall, MVS, and Jamal Williams. Yeah. So I'll just say that.
Yeah, Breece Hall from week 1, he had a 44.3% snap share. Week 2, he cut it near in half, a 27.3% snap share, 7 carries. He only ran 6 routes. Week 2, week 1, he ran 25. Week 1, he had 10 targets. Week 2, 1 target. He did pretty much match his yards 60 to 61. So that's a positive. When he got the ball, he was doing work with it, but I don't like the snap percentage there. Give me J.K. Dobbins. Kenyon Drake's trash. Mike Davis is trash. Justin Jackson or Justice Hill, whoever they got in there as a third guy is trash. So give me J.K. Dobbins there. I don't mind that. J.K. Dobbins, Brandon Ayuk with Jimmy Garoppolo. We've seen the output that he can do with that guy playing under center, but I'm liking J.K. Dobbins.
I love how you do that. It's just trash.
Yeah.
We won't hold back either. Like, we'll tell you straight up if they're doo-doo or not. And those guys are, Do people actually, let's be real. Did people actually trade or draft Mike Davis in drafts? Or did you guys get him off waivers?
I picked him up like last round, preseason, they used them a ton. So I was putting my eggs into that preseason basket with J.K. Dobbins not really cleared for the first couple weeks. I figured he'd be the guy to get the carries, and then they brought in Drake. So that kind of threw a damper in that. But, I mean, he's trash, right?
Yeah, I was such a high believer in Drake. I'm like, oh, Drake's going to the Ravens. I'm like, oh man, this is hot garbage now. And I just dropped him.
Yeah, appreciate you tuning in. Mike Davis makes me never watch football again.
And he's never like this either. Like, it's crazy.
And that's a Raven fan. That's a Raven fan coming at you with that take right there. Speaking of takes, right now on the uSTADIUM app, we have a risk-free take that you guys can jump in on. It's 750 points to play, so anyone can get in on this take. A Josh Allen and Tua combined for over 55 plus fantasy points this week. Big game, big divisional game. Both teams 2-0. The Bills are missing a bunch in their secondary, but we know that the Bills can put up points. Tua has been electric. 6 TDs last week with Hill and Waddle. Mike Gesicki caught one. So, I mean, what does it take for both QBs to score over 55 plus fantasy points? I mean, really, if both of them can put up 27, 28 fantasy points each. I mean, it's a big day, a big outing for both of them. But again, it's a risk-free take. Get in on it on the uSTADIUM app. We are brought to you by the uSTADIUM app. And while you're there, make your own takes. Share them. Tag me and Stefan on Twitter. I'm at FFChrisP. He's at Birchbombs. And we'll get in on your takes. We'll promote your takes.
Take my money.
Yeah, exactly. There's a leaderboard on there to let you know who's the top taker right now. I believe it's Splash, right?
Oh, Splash has been on a tear.
Splash knows his stuff.
And he's making money. Like, while you guys are over here betting your parlays and betting your straight bets, this guy's like, take. And he's, like, no pun intended, he's taking all their money because he's showing us every week, like, his numbers. And the leaderboard is, it doesn't lie. And Splash has been on top of that leaderboard. So if you think you can go in there and dethrone him, if anyone watching this show, if you think by what, give me like a time frame really quickly. How long it takes you to dethrone Splash off the top of the leaderboard? We should do something for that.
For me,
I feel like someone somewhere out there, if you can beat Splash's like leaderboard record or something, I think we should just give someone something for that, like an achievement. Because this guy is like king of the leaderboard, dethroned
Stefan
Splash.
will give you his next paycheck if you beat Splash.
I mean, listen, as long as you're not taking my tips, you can have my paychecks.
That's it.
And Josh Jacobs will play, so drop Zamir White because that pipe dream died.
Jacobs is dressed. Yes, there was a lot of reports coming out that he didn't travel with the team. He didn't travel with the team because he's sick. So, but he did travel to Nashville, just not with the team. So Crab's teacher, my boy Crab's teacher, tuning in this year with us. Stafford or Tua in a 10-team 6-point TD league. I'm leaning Tua, man. Tua.
If you have no backfield, if you have no defensive backfield, then you got to start Tua. And what is a bad game after coming off a 6-touchdown game? I don't have the stats on hand. I think Splash might, knowing him. But what is the record or what is a stat line for a quarterback who has just thrown 6 touchdowns in a game the week before coming now? I know Nick Foles, Peyton Manning, Tua, and I believe Brady and Rodgers were the only ones that were able to do that. But I don't know what the next week held for them after that. You throw 6 touchdowns one week, what happens the next week? I think Tua comes back, performs just as well, and doesn't throw 6, but I think he at least throws 3 touchdowns. Stafford, I'm still worried. But then again, I'm like, I don't know. I think Tua is just going to sling the rock. He has better weapons. I know Cooper Kupp is there, but Waddle, Hill, and Gesicki, I'd rather have over Kupp, Allen Robinson, and Higbee. Am I wrong for that?
No, you're good there. You're good.
So, give me Tua. And I think Mahomes was the only person that actually repeated a back-to-back 6-touchdown game thanks to Splash.
There you go. 1 million points back-to-back months for the Splash Daddy.
Jesus Christ. Oh,
don't forget Trubisky.
Oh,
Mitchell,
no.
The truth.
The MVP, the Nickelodeon valuable player.
The truth. All right, we're approaching our hour mark. We still got to talk our start sits of the week. We're going to dive right into those, rip those off for you guys at 12 p.m. Eastern time. Sorry. We are hosting a space. Anthony Solo Lopez is going to be on there answering your last-minute questions, updating you with inactives. So make sure after we're off here, you're heading over to the uSTADIUM Fantasy Twitter, uSTADIUM Twitter, and joining that live space as we approach the 1 o'clock games for week 3. All right, let's get into our starts and sits of the week. Again, if anybody's watching, Drop your questions as we go. We will get to your questions as we read these off. QB start of the week is Marcus Mariota versus the Seattle Seahawks. The Falcons' offense is averaging 26.5 points per game. Week 1 versus the Saints, he showed his rushing upside, moving the ball with his legs 12 times for 72 yards and a touchdown. In week 2, he didn't push it as much, only 6 times rushing, but 6 times for a QB who has also averaged near 30 pass attempts per game, is a safe floor with the opportunity for high output today versus the Seattle Seahawks. QBs versus the Seahawks so far, again, it's a small sample size, only 2 weeks, have been averaging 20 points per contest, with Russell Wilson dropping 340 in the passing attack in week 1. The Seattle defense is susceptible to both facets of Mariota's game. His newly developed chemistry with Drake London, who has been his go-to guy, has been excellent target for Mariota in the passing attack, being targeted 19 times through 2 weeks. I'm expecting a Kyle Pitts breakout game. I know he hasn't been that great for us through 2 weeks, but the Falcons are starting a nickel corner with Justin Coleman. So look out for the connection to Kyle Pitts, who was lined up in the slot 26 of his 44 routes run. When a quarterback can do stuff like that, I mean, fumble the snap, there you go, fall down, still make the play. That's a guy, that's a gamer, that's a guy you want in your lineup. My projection, 250 yards, 1.5 TDs passing, 50 yards, 1 TD rushing for Marcus Mariota of the Atlanta Falcons. Plug them into your lineups. Our QB sit of the week is...
Relax.
Hey.
Relax. And I'm doing nothing about this relaxation. I am not relaxing because I looked at the numbers, and this week's list, it's a little more juicier names than you're used to. I had to get my my win-loss ratio up again. But if you're looking at the numbers, I mean, why is Aaron Rodgers a start or a sit? I mean, he's never a sit. Like, you don't ever want to sit Aaron Rodgers, am I right? Yeah, these aren't the days of Jordan Nelson, Donald Driver, old school Randall Cobb. This is not Devontae Adams. He's got nobody. He's got Watkins on the IR. He is 22nd in yards this season and 429. He's tied for 18 in touchdowns with 2. Oh, this is a good top 5 stat though. He's got, he's tied for 4th for interceptions with 1. And hey, that's cool. It's the only top 5 stat he's got. He's also 25th in QBR in the season. So you know what that screams out to me? He's not getting it done. He's not Aaron Rodgers of what we were used to, a 4th round, 3rd round pick, where you get the guy, he's on 400 yards a game. He's barely averaging 200 yards a game. He's averaging 1.3, my numbers say 1.3 touchdowns a game. He's 69.5% completion. And to throw 2 touchdowns in 2 games, one against the Minnesota Vikings, the second was last week against the Bears. Yet you went through AJ or Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, which I get. You have to do going forward. But this is why I wouldn't start Aaron Rodgers. And he's not going to be a bench waiver quarterback because he's still Aaron Rodgers. He'll still have his boom games. But as of right now, this guy is not a start candidate. The numbers just look terrible. He hasn't even thrown for 250 yards this season. The most he had was 234 against a soft Bears defense. I'm struggling to start him. I mean, it's the Bucs. Better defense in Chicago, better defense than Minnesota. I just think they're going to lock up those mediocre receivers because there is no Devontae Adams to, burn Carlton Davis or Murphy Bunting. So I just don't feel comfortable starting Aaron Rodgers. I would rather start the running backs. If I had to give him a stat line, he's going to throw for 250, but I don't think he throws for 2 touchdowns. And I think this is a game he has. If I'm not wrong, his first multiple interception game since last year. Aaron Rodgers is like, again, I know why he was there late. I know why he was there in the 12th, 13th round. When you thought you had a stealing quarterback, you really didn't. You had a quarterback who was aging and a quarterback who has no receivers. I know Brady's 45, but look at the situations between both those guys, and you tell me who you'd have at the age. So Aaron Rodgers is a clear-cut sit, and I am not even looking twice about it. Or thinking twice about it, sorry.
There you go. Start Mariota, sit Aaron Rodgers.
I love that start, by the way. Mariota was such a, like if I had the start of the week, I would be like, damn it, I wanted to take that Mariota start, but that was such a good one.
Yeah. RB sit of the week for me, Rashad Penny versus the Atlanta Falcons. A lot of people are predicting a bounce back week for Rashad Penny. I am not. And my main argument here is Kenneth Walker. It's clear Seattle did not hold back with what their strategy is going to be with their running back room. It was a split/hot hand approach, and yet another backfield that I don't want any real part of. Both have upsides, but both won't be viable starting options every week. Running backs versus the Atlanta Falcons defense are surprisingly only averaging 10 points a game. So a guy who is in a 50-50 split, it's not a spot where I want to put my trust into either one of them. The RBs they faced are no slouches either. They faced Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, Darrell Henderson, who had a nice week 1, and Cam Akers, who has slowly been working his way out of Sean McVay's doghouse. Not one of the 4 scored more than 10 points. In week 1, no Walker. He had 12 carries, none in the red zone. Week 2 with Kenneth Walker, he was cut right down to 6 carries and 0 in the red zone. I'm not a fan of the unpredictability and the instability of not only the running game, but the passing attack as well for the Seahawks. The Falcons defense has been good versus the position. My projection, 10 carries, 55 yards, and 0.5 touchdowns. So I'm sitting Rashad Penny this week.
So happy you finally did that. I'm so happy you got off this. I've been waiting for that.
We've been waiting.
Love it.
All right. Our RB start of the week for Stefan is none other than the chef, and it's not Russell Wilson.
You got to let this man cook. You got to let this man cook. And you know why? It's because it's in his name. It's Dalvin freaking Cook, people. This guy has been the most underrated top 5 pick this year. I mean, Dalvin Cook ranks 20th in attempts, 21st in yards, 26 in touchdowns because he has 0. 25 other people have more touchdowns than Dalvin Cook. He's also averaging a mediocre at best for him, 4.1 average per carry, but he's going into Detroit. They're coming into Minnesota, Detroit is. And I think that Dalvin Cook has that get back, get right game. And those fantasy owners right there, give me a clip of someone crying with laughter and happiness because this will be the game. This is the game that Dalvin Cook is like, hey, I'm back. Finally, like that, all that rust, all that whatever, it's going to be gone. He will come back. He is an RB1. He's the reason you spent a 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th overall pick on the guy. Just because he changed his number to number 4 doesn't mean he's going to be the 4th best running back on his team forever. I mean, the guy is still a stud. He's still a 5,000-yard back. So I'm kind of offended that people are slandering Dalvin Cook. I was never the biggest fan, but if I'm looking at a guy who's got tremendous upside for the second half, it's Dalvin Cook. For a guy who has tremendous upside against a weak defense in Detroit that will always be in shootouts, it's Dalvin Cook. Alexander Madison's not the answer. Who's the 3rd running back? I don't even care enough to look. It's not going to be in the system. I think Dalvin Cook has a game where he comes out, gets 15 to 20 carries, at least 80 yards, and does get a touchdown on the ground or receiving. So I think this week it's a finally RB1 season for Dalvin Cook. Next week I'll figure out who he's playing, but I think it's a get-right game for him, and it's a get-right game for that entire Minnesota Vikings team that got embarrassed on Monday night because Kirk Cousins, like always, never shows up after 8 o'clock.
There it is.
It's his curfew.
Manuel Gomez, start 1 flex PPR. Darrell Henderson, Chris Olave, Rashad Bateman, A.J. Dillon, and Allen Robinson. If I'm ranking them right now, I'm probably going Bateman, Dillon, Robinson, Henderson, Olave.
Perfect.
There you go. So
there
start Bateman. There you go. Okay. My wide receiver start of the week is the rookie wide receiver out of Tennessee, Treylon Burks versus the Las Vegas Raiders. It's time for the breakout to happen for Treylon. This is the week to start him. Wide receiver Kyle Phillips tagged as doubtful, most likely not playing. Everything is lining up for a Burks breakout game. The Raiders are ranked in the back half of fantasy points versus the wide receivers. And wide receivers are averaging 21 points per game versus the team. Through 2 weeks, he's had a 22% target share at about 3.4 yards per route run, which puts him first in the rookie class and 7th amongst all wide receivers. So he is definitely the guy you want to target in that Tennessee wide receiver room. He is averaging 5.5 targets per game on a snap share below 50%. So if this guy gets a higher volume of snaps, he's going to absolutely ball out. And with the Tennessee Titans needing to stack up some wins, they're going to be throwing the ball, and this is the week where you want to start Treylon Burks. Give him a full set of routes. The production is coming. He has been cleared from his ankle injury, which he suffered last week, and now is the time to put him into your lineups. The Raiders are traveling east for a 1 p.m. game, so I'm not looking for the Raiders to be that prolific defending the pass. Through 2 weeks, again, small sample size through 2 weeks, he is PFF's highest rated wide receiver. 6 catches, 80 yards, 1 tutty for the kid. And look at him. He's a yak monster. They're going to dish the ball up to him shallow, and he's going to move the ball downfield with his legs. He can also stretch the field as well. He's got that top end speed for you where he's going to burn DBs. So I'm starting Treylon Burks this week without hesitation. Am I starting Treylon Burks? Our wide receiver sit of the week, and I know uSTADIUM is full of Jets fans, so we might get some heat for this one, but Steph don't care, man. Steph, why are we sitting Elijah Moore?
I mean, he's a Jet.
We're starting Garrett Wilson, and he's a Jet.
Well, yeah, because he was an Ohio State Buckeye at first. No.
There you go.
I mean, again, number. What do we always say? Women lie, men lie, but what doesn't lie?
Numbers.
The numbers. And the numbers do not lie when I'm telling you 57th in receptions with 8, 56th in yards with 90, 0 touchdowns, 0. Frankie, 0. You've got no touchdowns. Well, Garrett Wilson has got how many in the season? Double his number, 2. And he's also 60th in average yards. 60th. I mean, the last 2 games have been what? 5 of 7 for 49 yards, 3 of 5 for 41 yards, no touchdowns. I mean, 13.7, 9.8 yards on average. Like, these aren't numbers that you start a receiver with. I would rather have Conklin, Garrett Wilson, Joe Flacco, Michael Carter-Williams, and then Elijah Moore. Then I'm okay with Elijah Moore. I mean, it's just a slow start. I get it. But clearly he's not producing the route, separation. I don't know. I just don't see him being that guy right now.
Yep.
And, of course, Garrett Wilson comes out 2 weeks, more targets. I mean, he's got in the last two games, 12 targets, over 24 of Garrett Wilson's. Why are you giving it to your receiver last year who produced great numbers, 12 targets, to your rookie that has 24? Clearly, we know who the better receiver is, and clearly Joe Flacco does as well, and Robert Saleh is all about it. Elijah Moore, I mean, don't drop him, but don't start him. I mean, what has he done to start for you? Another guy, high capital. What have you done for me? Your receiver 2 numbers that I expected. I get you as a receiver 2 behind, say, let me see. Give me a receiver 1. Give me Justin Jefferson. I get you as a receiver 2. I'm like, okay, this is my guy. This is the guy I went into the season with. Like, okay, I could be okay with starting him. I think he's a good Zach Wilson trusted person. But again, I trust the Jets and I get burnt. I don't see a production in that offense. And I'll be real with you. If Zach Wilson comes back prematurely, I wouldn't touch him. I don't think that they should bring him back. I think Flacco has a great rapport with the team. They had a crazy miracle win last week against the Browns. And Corey Davis had a touchdown. Corey Davis had 68 yards. Corey Davis had 5 catches. Elijah Moore, again, nowhere to be found. You were in a game that was 31-30, yet you only had 5 targets on 41 yards and 3 catches.
Yeah.
Clearly they don't trust him, or clearly he's not getting, like it said, separation, but I don't feel safe, starting Elijah Moore. And if he burns me this week, that'd be the second Jet to not burn me, but like make me look kind of dumb. So Frankie, you've got kind of some some leeway if I'm wrong on this one.
There you go. There it is. My tight end sit of the week. I don't think he's playing, so we can kind of skip over that one. I made this list earlier on in the week. Dalton Schultz, not looking like he's going to play. He is my tight end sit of the week. So we're going to bounce right to our tight end start of the week. Frankie, not too excited with starting Kyle Pitts, but Stefan's going to let you know why you should be starting Kyle Pitts.
I mean, it's Kyle Pitts. I mean, you look at the numbers, they're not sexy. But, I mean, hey, actually, do you know his his 2 last games? Do you know his receptions and his yards?
For Pitts?
Off the top of your head?
Top of my head, no.
Okay, so Kyle Pitts, week 1, had 2 catches for 19 yards and no touchdown. Week 2.
7 targets, so that's not too bad.
So, yep. So, week 2, 2 catches, 19 yards, no touchdowns. He is the most consistent fantasy player ever with 2 catches a game and 19 yards. I mean, that screams, hey, what's going on? I think the Falcons, again, against Seattle, in Seattle at a 425 game, it's a get-right game. Even though the Falcons will never get it right, they will get it right fantasy-wise. And, yes, that is me right there punching. That's how I feel. That's how every fantasy owner feels. But, guys, brighter days are ahead. I get it. 4 catches, 133rd in the league. 38 yards, 129th in the league. 0 touchdowns, tied with Elijah Moore at 61. And he's at a 9.5 yard average, tied for 85th. That screams nowhere near tight end numbers that you drafted him in the 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round.
Yep.
Like you're screaming, you're like freaking out. You're like, I got to get this guy off my team. He sucks. He's not good. I don't know what to do. But listen, relax. Kyle Pitts is a unicorn. He just cuts off the horn every game and then glues it back on after it's over. Just give the guy a chance because he is a stud. Look at this tight end. When was the last time you've seen a tight end this big, this built, this NFL ready since Gonzalez, Kelsey, Gronk, all those guys outside of Gronk's rookie year, which was a crazy year at 2011. Everyone else had a bad first year, even in the second year. Kelsey wasn't good for the first few years of his career. He wasn't Travis Kelsey. But what happened? Now he's the best tight end. He's a 32-year-old tight end, but he hasn't had that many seasons under his belt. Kyle Pitts is okay. He's not worth the draft capital. You drafted him now. But come week 6, week 7, it's only week 3. We're not even 1/4 of the way through this season yet. We're still in the very beginning. Everyone's still raw. Everyone's still breaking off some of that rust. Marcus Mariota and Kyle Pitts will be fine. And down the road, that could be a good stack to go with because the rushing upside of Mariota and also the big playability and the big yardage ability of Kyle Pitts. He's a receiver in a tight end's body.
Yep. Yeah, I can see that. Yep.
So
he is the wide receiver 2 on that. Sorry, I was just answering questions on the uSTADIUM app. He is the wide receiver 2 on that Atlanta team.
I mean, well, I'd argue he's the receiver 1 over London. I mean, London, you drafted him to be your receiver 1 position-wise. But if game's on the line, you have to get a 10-yard catch. Are you going Kyle Pitts or are you going Drake London? I'm going Kyle Pitts. I think he's a more sure thing. And I think this week against Seattle, again, a very weak defense and a get-right game for Mariota to have a good stat line and for Kyle Pitts to look at Frankie in the eyes and say, remember that stuff that you were talking smack all offseason? I heard it. I'm going to come out, and I still think he's going to be a top 4 tight end this season. I don't care what the first 4 weeks of the NFL season brings. That's not what the NFL season is. The first 4 weeks is like a feeling out process. And there it is, my boy Ian Hurwitz, right there. 8, 124, and 2 tutties.
Yeah.
That's
a big stat line, man.
I'm not gonna give him 8, 124, and 2 tutties, but I'll give him 8 catches, 100 yards, and 1 tutty. If he gets the second one, I told her so. But hey, that's a whole different thing. But I don't like the disrespect. I don't, and I think he's gonna come out in Seattle and show those guys like, listen, this is why I am who I am. And then Frank is gonna be like, damn. Stefan was right about Elijah Moore. He was right about Kyle Pitts. This guy might know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I agree. 8 for 100 and 2 tutties. Big stat line. Big stat line. But tied with my QB start of the week. I mean, I could see it.
And honestly, that's why I kind of tied it because I saw you. I'm like, what do you know? And you've been right. So like, I did piggyback off of your success the last 2 weeks, and unless they're gonna go through, Zacchaeus or or whoever is out there, I don't see it happening. So true confessions, I did piggyback off of him because he made a really good point. So.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts' fantasy love is a sinking ship.
But like any relationship, it's a sinking ship. But as long as you make the right, as long as you right your wrongs, you can always save the ship, and you could just let it get to land. Let yourself get to land with Kyle Pitts, and then start running with him. Yep. Just trust me, Frankie. Just trust me. It's gonna happen.
Grandma stays in the gate until Kyle Pitts gets a tutty.
God, I hope they have an international game soon.
Oh my gosh.
The fact that that's actually real, though, is like, oh, man.
Oh, man. Okay.
I love it.
Our last two, our Team DST. My Team DST start of the week. The New York Giants versus the Dallas Cowboys. Through 2 weeks, the Giants have accumulated 3 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, averaging 19.5 points against. They are squaring it up on Monday night versus the Dallas Cowboys, who are averaging 11.5 points per game. Divisional game, Monday night. Cooper Rush at QB for Dallas. Michael Gallup might play, but he's got no Dalton Schultz. The Giants held Baker Mayfield to 145 passing yards just last week, and he had DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, Christian McCaffrey, and much better weapons than what the Dallas Cowboys have. The backcourt for the Giants is no joke, and I talked about it last week when I said to sit Robbie Anderson. I'm not predicting a shootout. Both offenses are stagnant. The over-under for the game is set to 39, so it is low. Could see a score 19-12. I'm not expecting Cooper Rush to have a good game. Now that there's some tape out on him, they're going to be game planning against him. Nothing's going to be high scoring with this game. I'm starting the New York Giants defense versus the Dallas Cowboys. Stefan, who's our team defense sit?
The Baltimore Ravens. The team that got embarrassed last week. I think going into New England, Bill Belichick knows what's going to happen. He's like, I got to shut them down. The reason I'm sitting them is because I think it's going to be one of those games where it's just, you don't know. I don't think the defense is going to have a pick six. I think they'll have a few sacks here and there. But this is one of those games I look at, I'm just like, I just feel like New England is in that situation where they have to come out and prove that they can beat this Baltimore Ravens team. And I think they will come out. Let's see, Peters is back, Marlowe's back, Travis Jones is back. I might end up eating this, but you know what? I'm not going to go back. I'm not going back on it. I think it's a good game for Mac Jones. He hasn't been good. He's been subpar, outside that big touchdown of Nelson Aguilar. The Ravens defense is good. They've always been good. They've always been a good run defense. But let's be real. Their pass defense has gotten exposed many times. Marcus Peters has gotten burned many times. Marlon Humphrey's gotten burned. Yeah. I mean, they have it. It's the NFL. But after looking at last week's, numbers against the Miami Dolphins, you look back, you're like this team was up basically 21 points, yet they allowed a monster comeback in the fourth quarter, allowing 4 touchdowns, 200 yards to Tua Tagovailoa. I get it. He has Tyreek Hill. He's got Jalen Waddle. He's got Big Mike G. But at the end of the day, you got to look at that and say 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. What was going on in the first 4 quarters? Why couldn't you guys, why couldn't you get it together? It's because the Ravens defense has holes. They're good. But I think the New England Patriots going into New England, it's going to be a nice, crisp fall day, up in Foxborough where it's all nice and cool. And I think the Ravens go in there and they just sit there and they go, how do we beat this New England team? Mac Jones has got to be shut down. Ramondre Stevenson and Damon Harris. I don't think that happens. I think they come in there and New England makes a statement win against the Baltimore Ravens, which have had their number the last few years. So I think Bill Belichick has a game plan that's perfectly made for this. I could be wrong. I could. But I just have a feeling that Baltimore today is not a good start for defensive teams or for defensive fantasy teams.
There you have it.
Ryan hates me for this. I know.
He's been throwing up the,
the
stats. There you have it. Those are our starts and sits for the week. We appreciate everyone who's tuned in, asked a question, liked the stream, subscribe to the channel. It only helps us help you with your support. So we appreciate everything. Again, we are brought to you guys by the uSTADIUM app. And Frankie was not joking around when he said he was going to make a take on Kyle Pitts. He made a take. Ty Conklin scores more today than Kyle Pitts. So if you agree or disagree, I know Steph's jumping on that right now to disagree with that take. If you agree or disagree with that take, hop on the app, drop your username in the comments, and we'll give you guys free points so you can hop on a take like that and put – Steph right now is going to put his money where his mouth is. Winners takes – all on the uSTADIUM app. That's it for us. As always, I'm your host, Chris. You get at me at FFChrisB on Twitter. That's my main man, Stefan Bershbombs. You can get at him at Bershbombs on almost everything. I do not know his Pornhub name, so don't get at me with that.
It's Big Bersh.
That's it. That's it for us. Again, head over to the Bird app. Head over to Twitter. We are going to be having a live fantasy space from 12 to 1 right before the games to get you ready to win your week. Stefan, good luck, brother.
Thank you.
That's it for us. Arrest Brett Favre.